Well, welcome to the Walther Center for tonight's game. We're excited for this one to tip off here in just a second. And thank you for joining us from around the country. It's your West Coast Baptist College Eagles versus the Arrows of Portland Bible College. And this is going to be a great matchup for us this morning. It's rare to say morning, right? Out here at West Coast, we're virtually always playing in the evening with maybe a Saturday afternoon game. But in order to allow the guys to hit the road a little bit earlier for a road trip, this one got bumped up to 11:30 right now. And so we're thankful for all of y'all watching at a little bit of different time in your schedule, and not just because there's almost as many online viewers as we have here in the stands right now. We're probably going to see some more students trickle in after third hour wraps up, but we're excited for what should be an exciting game today. Yesterday evening, these two teams faced off, and so we're getting that NBA playoffs kind of familiarity, right? Almost a best of 7 series kind of feel, where you know what the other team's game is about, you know how they want to approach it. West Coast certainly came out a lot hotter yesterday in the early going, as they ran out to a 22-4 lead to open the game. We're up 63-31 at one point before a second half 20-0 run, mostly against the West Coast bench. Got the final margin quite a bit more respectable for Portland Bible, but the Eagles still took care of business 85-69, coming away with a solid victory. And so you're certainly going to be interested to see today if this game is more like that first half, more like the Eagles starters really finding a lot of success against the Arrows of Portland Bible College, or if Portland feels like it wasn't just a personnel thing, but that they were able to find some openings, maybe some mismatches or a bit of process to exploit that was able to get them a win in some of the second half scoring. And a good opening on defense by Portland Bible. Ethan Delaney taking the tip against 6'7" Travis Vermillion. Certainly the size mismatch in this game for the Arrows. But Ethan playing well yesterday, active on defense. Let's see if the Eagles are able to find some success here. Nate King, after getting his block on a tough drive to the basket, able to then open up the scoring there with a nice bucket. Active defense here by the Eagles. Lucas Hernandez right up in his face out on the wing. And now Weatherall, really that 20-0 run last night, in part fueled by some effective shooting by Weatherall. And here King gets rung up for the foul. He got switched into a mismatch against Vermillion in the post. Playing hard, staying active, trying to get his hands up there to contest, but just a height mismatch that was going to be difficult to overcome. Well, the Arrows scoring earlier than they did yesterday, if I'm remembering right. It was 8-0 or 11-0 before they were able to get their first. And it's going to be tied up here 2-2 in the early going. Bosher over to Galindez. And the Eagles yesterday, despite Vermillion's height, really liked attacking inside. That's already been seen earlier with Nate King trying to go inside. Here, Ethan Delaney going inside, able to get the scoop and the score. Johnson bringing it up, and it's going to be into the post. Pivots out into the corner now, and that's going to rattle off the rim. An opportunity for them to take a lead, something they didn't have at any point last night, but not quite going to be able to get there. Braxton Bosher not quite able to get that one to fall after a sweet spin move. And Braxton really trying to gain a lot of downhill momentum, especially in his time last night. Really just always on the attack, showing a readiness to play that same sort of way today. Not able to get the and one, but a chance to earn 2 from the line. Hits the first. 5-2 Eagles about a minute and a half in. And Braxton splashes that to make it 6-2. Bit of full court pressure by Nate King, but Galindez picking up more in the half court there, just throwing some different looks at Portland. That was something that Coach Sisson had ready yesterday, a variety of different defensive approaches, and that's continuing in the early going here. That one's going to rattle out. Looked like it almost might go. Good play by Johnson, but not able to get it to fall. Delaney to King in the corner, going to come up just short, and this is going to come back for Portland Bible. 6-2 here, 2 minutes in. Vermilion playing relatively high up and swinging the ball around. Good movement so far by both teams. Bosher here with the steal, and Eagles' ability to force turnovers yesterday was a big part of their success. Out to Lucas for three, splashes that, and he's really found his form over the last couple of games especially, and has really been on fire from outside. That one's going to get tied up, and it's going to stay on the Portland Bible side. And we're going to see our first substitution here of the game. Jeremy Lane coming in for Samuel Reese. And Lane getting some more minutes in the second half yesterday. Kind of a more defensive wing sort of player. But let's see if he can get something going on the offensive end. Weatherall pulls up and some pressure in his face, but not able to convert it. They're going to ring up the Eagles for an on-the-floor foul. That's going to go against Hernandez. It's 9-2 here in the early going for West Coast. And so a good start. We mentioned the fact that because of this different start time, really a lot of our students right now are at class. And so a different kind of energy in the Walther Center right now. You've got more of that, not quite pick up exactly, but more of that just here for the hoops kind of atmosphere. Hernandez short on that three. But one of the dangers of that for the Eagles is that every mistake or miscommunication can get heard more easily by Coach Sisson. And after their drive to the basket last time, you could tell that he wasn't thrilled about that. You've kind of got that pandemic basketball and soccer sort of feel, right, where everything that's being said on the court is pretty audible. And so if and when Coach Sisson needs to make any adjustments, he can be sure that his guys are going to hear him clearly. Vermilion getting an offensive board, and after a bit of a more muted performance for him last night, he's been more active here in the early going, although not able to get to fall. Galindez pumps, gets Cremier to bite, swings it out to Delaney, and that's going to go off to the left, but it's going to come back Portland Bible's direction. 9-4 here in the early going. Gabe Delaney and Zach Brown coming onto the court for Nate King and Ethan Delaney. And upsizing a little bit, Coach Sisson showed a willingness to mix around the size of some of the lineups. It wasn't always pure point guard for pure point guard substitutions. Ethan and Gabe relatively similar heights. Ethan maybe plays a little bit more in the post, and so Zach Brown coming in with that. Nate King coming off, but more of that lead guard responsibility now shifting to Chris Galindez. Good defensive pressure up top, forcing a tricky pull-up jump shot for the Arrows. But Lane is going to get that to fall, and it's 9-6. Eagles up by 3, just over 4 minutes into this game. And Portland certainly looks like they found a bit more of their footing. Galindez shook Johnson there, got him going the wrong direction. Was able to get down into the paint and draw the whistle. Bosher going to set up on the baseline. And we'll see if this play works more inside or out. And this one's going to come to Brown immediately, who's going to give it right back to Braxton and let him get to work. Lucas now in the corner with Lane defending. And they're going to ring up a travel there, giving the Arrows the ball with a chance to potentially tie up the game if they can hit from outside. Delaney out with the pressure near half court and was able to get swung over by Corey Bays for Portland Bible, but a little bit of misplacement there meant that they were going to have to reset. Working down the shot clock, and Johnson not able to get that to go. Falls to Galindez. He hit a difficult jumper last time. This is going to come back to Jake LaFamia, who's going to get the 2-on-1. Just mistimes that pass a little bit to stop up the fast break opportunity. Eagles doing a good job getting in to defend. Galindez now gets it and is going to seek the contact there. Knew it was going to be tough for him to get up with a completely clean shot with two Arrows chasing him down. And so he made sure that they were going to have to pay for that if they were going to go up and contest. Galindez now going to the line with a chance to make it a two-possession game. Rattles that first one in. It's 10-6 Eagles. About 5.5 minutes into the game. Nathaniel King now checking in for Lucas Hernandez. And Galindez going to be just slightly short on both of those, but calibrated it well enough that it rolled in for both, and that's going to make it 11-6. Lane working his way down through the lane, and that's going to be an and one opportunity for him. Coach Sisson immediately calling for David Goey to check in here. That's going to be the second foul on Nathaniel King. Zach Brown coming out now for David Goey. And a lot of substitutions in the early going for the Eagles. Instead of leaving just one lineup out there come what may, Coach Sisson being pretty active and making some changes. Nathaniel King able to get inside and lay that up with his right from the left side of the lane. Got that one to fall. And Gabe Delaney gets the steal here. Let's see if he can finish it over Bays. Gets that one up and in. Good finish through clean physicality, but through a defender who was being pretty physical with him. Gabe able to get that one to go. Bays tries to split Goey and Delaney, but took just an extra step as he was loading up for the pass there. Just a bit of a sloppy exchange in Navy. And we're going to see the first substitutions of Hickson entering the game for his first time tonight. Bosher bringing it up the court. Handled a lot of the ball in the previous game, and you can see why there. You don't think of him as much as a pure point guard, but just a beautiful feed. Galindez, great awareness, keeping his eyes up, always looking for the ball. Great cut, great feed, great basket. With 13:30 left here in the first half, it's going to be 17-9 for your West Coast Baptist College Eagles. Portland Bible calling a timeout immediately after Galindez's score, and they didn't like what they saw on that end of the court. He's trying to get his guys. They've certainly come out stronger than they did last night, and really just never able to find their rhythm until the score was much too far out of hand. And yet after a much closer start to the game, slipping away from Portland Bible a little bit more, And so just trying to stay active here in the early going, keeping his guys in this game as much as possible. A lot more full court pressure. We already highlighted the fact that West Coast likes to mix up their looks. Weatherall, the shortest player on the floor. A dangerous shooter. Ethan's going to hit Braxton. Braxton's going to try to get that in, get it back, and goes up niftily. Gets a clean shot. Almost looked like he was going to pull off the and one there. That wasn't quite going to fall, but he is going to get a chance to earn 2 at the line. We've got a lot of switchability on the Eagles side, especially with the 6'7" Travis Vermillion for Portland Bible on the bench right now. Between Braxton, the Delaney brothers, and David Goey, really a lot of opportunities to mix and match defensive responsibilities, with Nathaniel King kind of serving as the point guard in this sort of system, but a lot of ball handling, a lot of switchability, a lot of defense out on the floor right now. Delaney coming over double. Weatherall in the post. Not a sentence that I'm probably going to say too much tonight. And good active hands. Braxton out to Delaney. Slows it down, gets control, puts that in. And the defensive pressure has really taken a step up for the Eagles here over the last couple of minutes. And Coach Sisson getting on some of his guys. Really the team as a whole, even coaching up some of them individually. Lane going to rattle that one in from 3, 21-12. But there's definitely been a marked improvement in the defensive pressure so far. Delaney able to control it, swing it out to King. That's going to get blocked. Second block for the Arrows tonight. Both of them going against the shorter Nathaniel King. But both of them coming as he was taking it aggressively in towards the hoop and really showing that tenacity to get in there and score. Ethan Delaney now going up, gets the offensive board, and finishes that possession with 2 for the Eagles. You wonder if Portland's coach is going to start looking for some taller alternatives on his bench. Over to Cremier. He's going to be a little bit off there. Bosher able to pull that one down. Up to Goey, who's going to bobble it a little bit amidst pressure, but maintains control well, and the ball will stay with the Eagles. Bosher inside. Almost rattles that one in, but not quite able to get the offensive board. Would have been a bit of a reach, and that's going to get rejected by Ethan Delaney. Weatherall was loading up for the 3 there, but Ethan read that one perfectly, got out there for the contest, and sent that one right back into what would have been the fans if this game had been in the evening. With 11:27 here in the first half remaining, it's Eagles 23, Arrows 12. And certainly plenty of heart and hustle showed by Portland all in all. But again, this game slipping away from them a little bit. Certainly some of what felt like maybe answers that they had in the very early minutes not playing out quite that way here in the moment. And we're going to see if either side changes this one up a little bit more in terms of their lineups after the intensity and length of some of the Eagles' wings really been causing issues for Portland Bible in terms of being able to find good shots, or in that case of the rejection by Ethan Delaney, being able to get shots up even after they found them. We are going to see some substitutions here. Vermillion coming in and Zach Brown coming in to counter from the Eagles side. Coach Sisson was coaching him up after a bit of an earlier defensive miscue, but Brown is going to immediately come down with the defensive board and been applying some of that. Galindez is going to shake his guy and get a nice little runner in the lane to fall. Cremier over to number 11. Now Lane going up, not able to get down with it. Rashad Hickson, number 11 for Portland Bible. Tangle of bodies here. 24 is going to get rung up. That's just the first for Vermilion. But that is going to be the 6th for the Arrows. And so if the Eagles can stay aggressive, they might start earning themselves more and more trips to the line. Galinda's bringing it up and working around a little bit of a pick here. Delaney now coming around. Hickson goes up strong into the lane. That one's going to get tipped out by Isaac Johnson as he's not able to finish that rebound amidst pressure. Dimitri Weatherall now checking in for Rashad Hickson. Weatherall with a little bit more juice on the offensive end. Hickson, more of an energy guy than anything else. And Ethan Delaney comes down with that one. Some late contact there. Asking the ref if there was going to be a foul there. But the ref didn't think so. King playing defense out past the three-point line. Lane, he's been looking to drive as his offensive contributions. There's going to be a whistle on the play. That's going to be the second against Ethan Delaney, but the ref now clarifying this is on number 20. Cremier down to Lane in the lane. Galindez tries to come away with it, almost gets there. Lane just kind of running around at this point and almost gets that one to go. And they're going to call that a timeout for the Eagles. Galindez was in pressure. The defense signaling for a travel. But that's what they're going to do, right? Basketball involves a little bit of salesmanship. They were trying to sell the ref on that one. But Coach Sisson got the timeout in plenty of time. With Galindez in a bit of a trap after coming away with that ball. Right about 10 minutes in. We're 7 seconds shy of that mark, but it's Eagles 27, Arrows 12. Another great start for West Coast in this one as they've come out and executed. And that's tough to do, especially after playing so recently that as recently as last night, right? 5 p.m. tip there, so 7 p.m. last night when it wrapped up. Less than 16 hours later, having to take the court again, come out ready to execute, ready to succeed, ready to hit shots and scramble on defense. There's been a good energy level by the guys here in the early going as they're balancing their classes, their athletics, their ministry, and really all of the things that go into student life here at West Coast Baptist College. We've started seeing some more students filtering in over the last couple of minutes here as third hour wraps up at 11:50. It's 11:57 here right now. Nice shot by Galindez. And so some of them heading on over, probably cheer this one through till halftime, go grab a quick lunch from the SLC, and come back for what the Eagles hope isn't particularly crunch time. And that one's going to get rung up as a block. Coach Sisson jumping to his feet, but it seems more like he was taking advantage of a coaching opportunity than particularly contesting the call, though he is going to be chatting a little with the ref at this point. Galindez only with his first here in the game. Both sides on 6 fouls right now. Eagles 29, Arrows 13, as Cremier is getting ready for his second. Splashes that one. 29-14 coming back West Coast direction. Ethan Delaney looking for that cut down into the lane. Now Gabe swings it out to the corner and Nathaniel King got hit pretty late on that one. But that's part of the process, right? You got to give the guy space to come down. You can't undercut him as he's coming down for his three. And so while the original shot itself was a bit off, King now a chance to earn all three of those anyway. Hit the first, hits the second. We're going to see some substitutions here. Braxton Bosher and Lucas Hernandez, both of whom started this game, coming in for Ethan Delaney and Zach Brown. So we've got the starting lineup right now, except that Gabe Delaney has subbed in for Ethan. King going to be short on that last one, but gets 2 out of the 3 on that trip down the court. Vermillion working in the high post. Cremier now gets the drive and is going to get that one to fall 31-16. Eagles leading here. Bosher gotten a couple of minutes of rest on the bench. Got a chance to catch his breath here. He's going to be needed later. And so with the early scoreline in hand, Galindez is going to splash that, but they're going to call a travel and opening himself up. Some nifty footwork, but the ref might have seen a plant foot drag a little bit or something like that. And so it's going to stay 31-16. Gabe Delaney bringing some pressure, making Johnson think about it on his way down the court, though giving himself a little bit of space. You don't want to get called for being all the way up in his face, 60 feet from the hoop. And that's going to go backcourt after looked like Jeremy Lane just not quite aware of where his teammates were. Good defensive pressure from the Eagles. Chris Galindez almost able to snag that one and end up with a fast break opportunity. But instead it's going to be backcourt, and the Eagles going to work from the half court. And the refs have really tightened up their whistle on traveling, as that, I think, is the third over the last 2 or 3 minutes. From where I'm standing, the scorer's table block, in my view, of that one specifically, it didn't seem like he'd teleported all the way over or anything like that. Sometimes you can just kind of tell when there's definitely been a travel, but didn't have a great viewpoint for it, and so it's certainly possible he saw something that I couldn't. Just about 8 minutes left in the half. It's going to be 31-18. West Coast out with the lead. And after the Eagles had run out to a significant early lead, the Arrow's been fighting it back a little bit, but the margin's still not what they'd be hoping for from this road trip. And Coach Sisson has stayed pretty active throughout this one, showing the willingness to run players in and out of the lineup. And it's felt like he's pretty much had the answers so far here throughout the early going, and that the players have been executing consistently and helping get out to that lead. What's going to be interesting is the second half decisions. Certainly don't want to get out in front of ourselves, but the way the Eagles are playing right now, you wouldn't be surprised for there to be a 20-point margin at some point in the second half. But in light of the bench unit, really it felt like they were playing pretty well last night, but the score getting away from them a bit. Their plus-minus numbers from the game probably not looking quite as good with that 20-0 second half run by the Arrows. You wonder if he's going to give his starters more run in the second half to try to nail it down, or if he's going to let the bench guys take another shot at holding what might potentially be a pretty significant lead. And speaking of his activity level, Lucas Hernandez hitting a 3 there. And really, even the threes he's been hitting, they haven't been rattling around or anything like that. They've been pretty crisp. There have been a lot of splashes in his recent hot streak. But Coach Sisson, maybe 15 seconds after a timeout, immediately sending David Goey to the scorer's table. A lot of activity by Coach Sisson. Great activity on the defensive end by Nathaniel King coming down with that board. And Ethan Delaney with a full head of steam coming back down the court, running himself into the play. He saw what he felt like would be an opportunity to take that one all the way to the line, but with a lot of momentum, wasn't quite able to angle his way all the way around Travis Vermillion. And we're going to see a foul. In my correction, that's going to actually be on Isaac Reese. Delaney is going to hit the first opportunity now for a second. David Goey is checked in for Chris Galindez. And we mentioned earlier the opportunity for a lot of switchability with Braxton, David, Ethan, and Lucas here. We've got something similar going on at this point as well, with again King being kind of the one guard here in this lineup. Goey, good defensive effort. Bosher been pushing it up the court consistently today. Lucas, he's feeling it right now. He just immediately took one dribble over to set himself up for that 3. But you could tell as soon as he got hit with that, he was going to look to shoot. And it felt like there was an 80% chance that that one was going to go in even before he went up with that. He's just on fire from outside right now. Vermillion comes back. Bosher again to him. Bosher's been pushing it up the court whenever he's had the opportunity with his passes to do so. Lucas going to be just slightly to the left on that one. It's 39-19 Eagles with 6.5 here left in the first. Weatherall hasn't had much in the way of opportunities to pull up from outside. Tries going inside, but tough defense there. Delaney accelerates down the lane, but is going to get that one taken away from him. And the ref's going to say that that was in part due to a foul. And the aggressiveness by the Eagles here in this first half of going inside. We mentioned this even just a couple of minutes in, as Nathaniel King kept taking it at the arrows. But Braxton showing a commitment, just like last night, to getting inside. Ethan Delaney really been taking it to him inside. Guys like Lucas stretching the floor with his shooting to open up space for his teammates. And that commitment has given them the opportunity to keep earning points from the free throw line. It's 41-20 with just about 6 minutes left here in the first half. Goey stepping out on Johnson, playing good on-ball defense. It's going to swing over now into Vermillion inside. And that's going to be an and one opportunity for Vermillion. Corey Bays, number 2 for the Portland Bible College Arrows. With good awareness, he saw Vermillion coming down the lane and just held it for just long enough to open that play up for him, and was able to hit him for the and one conversion. Bosher now bringing it up against Bays, who's certainly a bit shorter than him. And yet King now is going to be cutting inside. Braxton's been looking for cutters. We gave Chris Galindez some love earlier after a great run by him. David Goey now gets down on the floor. And that one's going to get called a kickball, I believe, which is going to keep it down on the Arrows side of the court. Cremier on the baseline. Bays and Johnson down low with the 2 big guys. Higher up, working their way down. And Bays is now going to get it up top. Cremier cuts back. but not able to get it. Reese with the size advantage. Nathaniel King with the positioning advantage. And ultimately that's going to bounce off of King's hands and out of bounds, staying here with the Arrows. Reese. The ball swinging around, ending up with Vermillion. Goe trying to push him off of his spot here, playing physically with him. There's a height disadvantage, but Goe is a sturdy defender. And that one's going to go in. Ethan Delaney immediately tossing it up to Braxton as he was running down the court. Who's going to probe around. Delaney going to pull up, but instead going to work off the dribble as the defense came out to contest. Johnson working against Hernandez, and Hernandez going to hold his ground enough that Johnson's going to get rung up for the travel. We've had a couple of those traveling calls go against the Eagles, one going against the Arrows here now. Johnson felt like maybe he was still within his steps, but the ref was right there on the baseline watching it pretty closely, and he felt like he saw something. Bosher to Hernandez, back now to Braxton, who's going to split his way between the defenders. And after a relatively light whistle last night, not a lot in the way of fouls, it hasn't felt choppy here today necessarily, but there's definitely been a lot more going on in terms of foul calls. That's not even to mention things like the travels that have been getting called here. Braxton's going to splash the first. Gabe Delaney coming in for David Goe. Rashad Hickson coming in for James Cremier. And Braxton's going to get both points from the line. 45-25. Just about 5 minutes left to go in this contest. The Eagles have started off well after what was, for about 80-90% of the game, a comprehensive victory last night, and what ultimately ended up pretty comfortable. Bay's going to hit that one with the jump shot. Bosher serving as the lead ball handler at this point. Nathaniel King with shooting opportunities off the dribble and right on cue. King is going to hit it from the corner right in front of some of the fans who are trickling in after third hour and after lunch. Hickson now out to Bays. It's going to be hard for him to pull up from three. Pulls up for a tough two. I don't know that that was any easier. Hickson to Vermillion. Vermillion to the hoop. And Braxton going to throw himself in there pretty hard. Both Vermillion and Bosher coming in with intent. And that's going to be a 1-and-1 opportunity for Vermillion. Looked like he was signaling that he was already going up with the shot. But this is going to get played out as a 1-and-1. Hits the first, though, so he's still going to have two opportunities. This will give an opportunity for Ethan Delaney to sub in for Zach Brown. Most of Zach's minutes tonight have come in shorter sections. And we've got just about the starting lineup coming out. And they're going to call a lane violation there against Portland Bible. Galindez now subbing in for Braxton. We've got all of our starters out there, except that Gabe Delaney is taking the place of Braxton Bosher at this point. Ethan Delaney working around, swings it over. Lucas working off the dribble. And Galindez not quite ready for that. A little bit of miscommunication from both sides. It's going to come back to Portland Bible. It's 48-28 here with just under 4 minutes left to play. Over to Lane, who's checked in for the first time in a bit. Johnson to Hickson. And faces a bit of a double. Now Reese facing some defensive pressure and a quick whistle against Lucas Hernandez. Neither side particularly happy about that. Lucas didn't feel like he had done enough to get rung up for that one. And Portland's Rashad Hickson hit a 3 immediately after the whistle. But it's going to be Isaac Reese at the line. Splashes that one. Samuel Reese, my correction. Hits the first, now has an opportunity to get 2. Drains that one as well. That makes it 48-30. West Coast with a 16-point margin here as the first half is trickling towards its conclusion. Gabe Delaney working off the dribble. And Chris Galindez is going to splash that one, even with the contest coming right back out at him. Pulled up in rhythm. Samuel Reese working inside. Not quite able to wrap that one all the way around. Delaney to Delaney, and just past his fingertips. The Eagles were looking to run as soon as they could there, and great aggressiveness in that play, but not quite able to calibrate the inches on that fast break. Lane to Reese, who's been a lot more involved the last couple of trips down the floor. Hickson works inside, and Ethan Delaney is going to get inside there. Coach Sisson immediately calling for the charge on that one, and the ref had the same angle he did and rung up Rashad Hickson on that drive. Nathaniel King now with the ball. It's over to Galindez again after a recent 3. Now it's Lucas for 3. Just short on that one. Rattles the rim a little bit. Reese surveying it, but that one's going to go off of him. And so with 2:20 left in the first half, 51-30, West Coast Baptist College Eagles out with a convincing early lead. King now off for Bosher, who's going to take up the ball handling responsibilities, at least in the early going of this trip down the floor. Setting up a bit of an ISO against Johnson. Hernandez is going to miss that. Splashed a couple so far today, but still calibrating a little bit here. Hickson, after getting rung up for a charge just a couple of seconds ago, is now going to pick up his 3rd of the first half as he barreled over, I believe it was Gabe Delaney, in trying to contest Lucas's 3-point shot. Delaney is going to hit the second there, get one of those 2. Hickson staying aggressive, now passes it to Gabe Delaney. He's going to find Braxton. Braxton's going to work his way a little Euro step down through the lane, but is not going to quite be able to get that to fall through some contact that's ultimately going to be deemed a foul. Braxton going to the line for 2, and we've had a number of whistles here in this game so far. Braxton splashes that one. It's 53-30. It's about 2 minutes left here in this first half. That one's going to be just short. And Jeremy Lane bringing it up now with Lucas stepping out on him. Lane doesn't do most of the ball handling there. Great hands by Galindez. Great work by Ethan, who then slings it out with his left. Galindez is going up with that. He set up the timing really nicely, playing with the speeds a little bit to keep the defense from timing up a block. And so the defense gambled on hoping they would get away with the ref's whistle, and did in fact get that one there to stop the fast break opportunity. Bays working down the sideline. Braxton picking him up relatively high. We've called this one out a couple of times already this afternoon now. Just mixing up the looks. A good look by Lane. He's got to be a little bit disappointed that Cremier just pulled up. It felt like there was enough space. He could have gotten something. But good defense. Now Cremier pulls it from 3. Splashes that one with just 4 on the shot clock. 53-33. Eagles. Braxton to Lucas. A little bit short there. Braxton's been consistently hitting him 4 open threes. Lucas doing a good job of finding the spacing. Bays in the corner. Bays is going to be a little short and certainly to the front as well. Weatherall, Bays, Cremier, another opportunity from the corner, and another one's not going to work out here. And Gabe Delaney getting rung up for that one. He probably felt like Johnson was leaning into him, trying to draw that foul call. It felt like a pretty 50-50, but with Johnson kind of staggering out of it right in front of the ref, he was going to get the more favorable end of that whistle. There was definitely some kind of contact. And there's immediately going to be another whistle going back the other direction. Almost would feel like a makeup call there. Bosher controlling from up top. Lucas working his way around. Ethan trying to get down inside. He's pretty good with that left. And then pops it out for the steal, but not quite able to get something to go there. 53-33 as the shot clock is off. Let's see if this is the last Arrows possession, as that's going to end up with a steal. We're going to have 6 seconds left to work with something. Galindez setting up for a final shot. Gets inside, gets that one to go. And that is going to do it for our first half here in the Walther Center. It's Eagles 55, Arrows 33. Eagles coming out strong after yesterday's performance, immediately going back to the well with a good execution first half. Certainly some points that Coach Sisson is probably going to bring out in their halftime talk. But all in all, it's been a good first half. It's been a clean performance by the Eagles. A lot of whistles go in both directions, certainly for each team. But the Eagles have managed to stay in control well, execute well, and find themselves on the plus side of this matchup. My man Brandon Miller immediately hitting us with some of the stats from the first half. So we're just going to kind of sort through some of this in real time together. Eagles 17 of 31 from the field, 55% with Portland Bible 11 of 31, only 35% from the field. Eagles 5 of 11 from outside, 45%. Portland Bible only 2 of 10. And so really it's been a tough shooting day for Portland Bible so far. The Eagles have been pretty effective. Not quite the 50-40-90 club as their free throws at 84%. But, hey, when your team is flirting with that 50-40-90 club, you know that you're doing something right. Eagles with 18 boards to Portland Bible 17. That's probably been the most even aspect of the game so far. Portland Bible with 6 offensive rebounds, able to find some success there. The Eagles doing a good job getting out and forcing turnovers. Portland Bible has committed 15 turnovers, which the Eagles have converted into 22 points, about a point and a half per turnover. The Eagles themselves have given it up 9 times, but that's only turned into 7 points for Portland Bible. And so they've only been about half as effective in terms of points per turnover that they've been forcing. And a large part of that has been that the Eagles have come away with 9 steals, and a lot of those leading right into fast break opportunities for the Eagles. In terms of the scoring numbers so far, 3 Eagles, Chris Galindez, Nathaniel King, and Ethan Delaney, all in the double digits here in the early going. Chris Galindez in particular, 5 of 5 from the field, hitting his only shot from range, splashing both of his free throws. And so an extremely efficient 13 points happening for him so far. He's picked up a rebound, an assist, and a steal as well. Nathaniel King, 4 of 7 from the field. Ethan Delaney with 10 points, 7 rebounds, and he's the leading rebounder for the Eagles so far. His 7 lead the team, with Braxton Bosher then at 3. Bosher has a chance at a double-double with his assists, though. 7 points already, 6 assists, with no other Eagle over 1. 4 guys tied there. And so great distribution from him, going as well with 3 steals. He's only the 5th leading scorer so far in the game, but between those assists and those steals, really finding other ways to contribute. And depending on how the rebounds fall to him, and really, honestly, more so depending on what the rotations look like for Coach Sisson, maybe an outside shot at a triple-double if more rebounds start falling in his direction. For the individual performances for Portland Bible, Cremier leading the way with 9 points. 5 of them second chance opportunities. He's gotten 2 boards, 2 blocks as well. 8 points by both Jeremy Lane and Travis Vermillion. Vermillion only with 4 rebounds, which speaks to some good team intensity by West Coast here so far in this one. Isaac Johnson and Corey Bays with 2 assists, leading the way there. 2 blocks by Cremier, both on drives into the lane. And that's going to do it for the Portland Bible stats. One last team stat we'll mention before a little bit of a break. About 10 minutes to go in this halftime period. Portland Bible with maybe a bit smaller roster got rung up for 14 fouls in the first half. Eagles only with 11 and a bit more opportunity to substitute. And so you'll see if that starts to bite the Arrows as they try to make a second half rally. Eagles have felt pretty comfortable with this, but the Arrows showed yesterday evening that they can get on a run at times. It's going to be even more uphill for them, as they're probably going to have to make a similar kind of run against the Eagles starters if they're truly going to make this game interesting. But in just about 9 minutes, the second half will tip off, and we'll see what they can accomplish from there. We'll be back with you on the other side of this halftime break. And we are back for the second half. A reminder of the score, it's 55 West Coast, 33 Portland Bible. And so the Eagles, with a strong start to the game, and a strong start and a strong finish on that shot by Ethan Delaney. And with guys on this roster like Lucas, like Chris, like Nathaniel, who are good shots, there'd sometimes be a bit of a temptation to just bomb away from outside and hope that works for you. But we've seen a commitment by the Eagles so far in really both games in this matchup here to getting inside and making things work from down there. Lucas rung up with a foul there. He felt like he had just gotten the ball, but the ref is going to ring him up for his third. It'd be a little bit more concerning if the margin was a bit closer. Great active hands by Braxton. Out to Lucas now. It's going to come back to Braxton here, who's working against the lengthier Vermillion. And that one's going to be double dribble called against him. Refs with a little bit tighter whistle today than last night in the first leg, but with the margins of both of these, Eagles have to feel good about their performance no matter how exactly the game is called. Corey Bays to Samuel Reese. Reese to Vermillion, who's going to tip it in and get up with that. And Coach Sisson immediately goes over, gets David Goe and Gabe Delaney in. And he's not taken the second half of this matchup off. Staying active with the changes here, sorting out a shot clock issue here at this point. This is going to be it for the Eagles for the season, and certainly some positive games to go with. Chris getting right back in Dimitri Weatherall's face, and I don't know if there's been maybe some chippiness or some words there between both of them in the game so far. Haven't heard anything even in a relatively quiet gym, but a little further away from the action. Bays comes back, responds with his own corner three, but a relatively quiet Eagles team here with a bit in the way of chatter coming from Chris. Braxton now works around his guy and just accelerated all the way into that finish. That's going to make it 63-38, 25-point margin here in the early going of the second half. Cremier with a nice finish. Goe behind him, defense closing in the front of him. Everyone making sure that they didn't get rung up for a foul, but still a tricky finish by him. King's going to dive for that one. Doesn't get a great angle on it, though, and so they're going to say that he tumbled over the Arrows defender. That's going to be his third. Get a little bit of foul trouble for some of the guys here. Nothing extremely serious, but worth at least considering. But with the margin being where it's at, and Galindez, great steal, tried to work his way through the traffic, and that's going to get whistled here as a travel. But you feel like with this margin, Coach Sisson has enough options to be able to mix and match if he needs to, bring in some substitutes in light of any foul issues. But that's also going to depend on how the refs keep calling this game here. Portland, a smaller college, a few less people on their bench than the Eagles one. That's usually not the case for us. for the teams that come to the Walther Center. They've played hard in both games, but really haven't felt like they've been able to find solutions for the Eagles, and especially for the Eagles starters, which they're going to have to do here if they're going to make it back. Vermillion coming up. Good work in pivoting around Gabe Delaney, but not able to get that one to go. Pushed up the court by Bosher. Galindez finishes that one through contact. 65-40, with Bays now bringing it up. Reese in the corner. Out to Weatherall. Weatherall, some hot shooting in last night's matchup. Bays with the hot stroke right then. But after Ethan Delaney rejected his three earlier, Weatherall's been a little bit more hesitant about pulling up with that same kind of quick trigger. Bosher to Galindez, and he's going to splash that one. Braxton assisted Chris just a couple of seconds ago on a fast break. Now assisted him on a three. And a great court awareness, great passing by Braxton so far. But sometimes your assist total just needs a little bit of help from your friends as it pertains to them hitting shots. Chris getting a breather there after his buckets and working on his defensive assignments, making sure that his guy is going to come up with that. Goe just a little bit short, kind of skimmed over the near side of the rim, but a nice open three. Good work by the Eagles getting that. Bays now into Vermillion. And they're going to, looks like the refs are going to confer a little bit about this. And that's going to be a foul going against David Goe. Coach Sisson had been calling for a travel call, but really anytime you're playing post defense, you're going to have to be pushing back against your guy, but the ref felt that he saw something there that didn't quite work for him. Swinging it around, Bays clears through, puts that up. Nice work from him on the inside. Braxton now bringing it up the court, over to Zach Brown, up for three. That's going to be short for him. Not quite finding that stroke from outside, but showed just a smooth pull on that. He had a plan and went for it. Came up smoothly, but not able to get it to fall. Reese now with the jumper. That's going to rattle around. Vermillion goes up with that and is able to finish that with the advantage of length over Gabe Delaney. 68-47, 19-point margin. I think we're at 25 recently here. King not able to get that one to fall in and out with the unmerciful bounce from the rim. Weatherall to Reese to Cremier. Pulls from three. Leading scorer for Portland Bible in the first half. Not able to get that to go there. Braxton now accelerating past Bays. And King off the front of the rim. Goe is going to get rung up for the foul there. And the ref taking some time. No, and it's not going to be a whistle against Goe, but rather they're going to say that Cremier from Portland flopped. Essentially, he was trying to simulate to get that foul call, but the ref saw through that ruse. Vermillion getting his team ready to go after a bit of confusion there after the technical free throw. Bays now working around King. It's going to go up to Vermillion, swinging it around. Good ball movement around the perimeter. But, right, you can have all sorts of nifty passes around the outside, but can you actually get into dangerous positions? Braxton had almost jumped it. The defense doing a good job. And the Eagles bench calling the countdown with about 6 seconds left on the shot clock. Started counting down from 3. And Portland, their guys, I don't know if he got his eyes up to check the actual shot clock and just got a bit too jittery there in the moment. Good defensive pressure, good possession from the Eagles there. Gabe Delaney working his way around in order to get that one to go. And the Eagles countering after a little bit of pressure from the Arrows. It's 70-47. About 6 minutes into this second half. Vermillion trying to work his way around the post. Floats it back out to Samuel Reese. And that is going to be called a foul against the Eagles. That's going to be our 5th of the second half. Just 6 minutes in. Only one whistle going against the Arrows so far. After the Eagles were whistled slightly less in the first half, the numbers have flipped here in the second. He's going to get both of them after he was working his way through pressure. Refs have been calling travels pretty quickly here so far this game. Coach Sisson a little bit surprised that they didn't call one there. And that's going to put it to 71-49. Goe going to be off, goes to Brown, who's going to, it seems, draw a foul. The shorter LaFamia holding him as he was surging in towards the basket. And we're going to see 3 substitutions here, as this is going to be the entire starting lineup for the Eagles, except that point guard Nathaniel King is going to take a breather right now for Gabe Delaney. And so really a lot of wings out there for the Eagles. We've mentioned this. Coach Sisson has liked going to kind of 4-wing lineups. Guys like Ethan Delaney that can play up a bit. Plenty of ball handling throughout the roster. And they're going to call a moving screen, it appears, on Gabe Delaney. And that's going to muddle up possession here. He's going to be, I believe, the 3rd Eagle on 3 fouls right now. Although Nathaniel King and Lucas Hernandez have both kept themselves clean over the last couple of minutes. And so Coach Sisson, glancing around his bench, mixed it up a lot so far in this matchup in order to find the right lineup for the right moment. But he hasn't tapped into players like Zach Clay, for example, who isn't a consistent minutes eater for this team, but usually finds himself on the court at some point. We'll see if Coach starts looking his direction or at other guys like Franco Murata, like Micah Bagwell, if the fouls keep adding up for the team here. He's got some margin to play with, 22 points at the moment. But we mentioned in the first half that after last night, Portland Bible was able to go on a pretty nice run against the Eagles' bench reserves, that Coach Sisson was going to have a decision on his hands, whether to give them another shot at holding a significant lead or if he would leave the starters out and try to finish this one off a little bit more. There's going to be a technical called against the Eagles. Not sure exactly who that's called on. wasn't clarified, but rather just against West Coast in general. And Nathaniel King is going to head to the scorer's table. And so we're going to see a potential lineup change immediately out of a timeout without any game action having taken place yet. But he's not going to be checking in just yet, as the same lineup is still going to be staying on the court. Sorting a couple of things through, looking at how many fouls some of the players have. I believe they're checking on Gabe Delaney's specifically, hearing 24 being mentioned. But it is going to take us a couple more seconds here before everything gets sorted through in order to figure this one out.
Okay, Arrows ball.
And some words going back and forth between the Portland Bible sideline and Ethan Delaney, who hasn't really seemed to be involved with any of this at all. So who knows exactly what's going on, but what we do know right now is that the ball is back in play, that whatever needed to be sorted out has been sorted out, although it doesn't seem like the number of fouls on anyone called, and really this was more or less a ref's timeout. Delaney to Galindez, who's able to stop nicely and work his way into the lane. Delaney working through a lot of contact. Not able to quite get that one to fall. This is going to stay with Portland at this point, or go back to Portland at this point. Cremier looking for his options. LaFamia up to Hickson, and dipping a little bit more into some of their bench players. Lane isn't necessarily a starter for them. LaFamia, Hickson, even Bays with the ball right now. And so you wonder if they're trying to just give their guys a little bit of rest before the flight home, or if their coach is just looking to the bench and hoping that a bit of a different look can give them the spark that they haven't been able to find so far. It's going to get an offensive foul rung up against the Arrows, and it's going to be coming back down with Braxton Bosher at this point. Delaney working his way around the pick. Some fluid movement here, both on and off the ball. Delaney is going to pump fake, get his guy to bite, and almost casually saunter all the way from the three-point line to the hoop, which is saying something. He just chewed up the ground there on that drive, made it look easy, gets 2 points out of that. Cremier working against Bosher, and this is going to get swung out to Bays, who's going to splash that one from three. Weatherall was the man of the hour for Portland. Bosher with a beautiful feed. Ethan glanced at the ref for a potential goaltend, but wasn't going to get that one paid off there. And after Ethan got his shot tipped on the previous one, went right back at it for the fast break. Lane, a defense-oriented wing for Portland, went for the block there, and Ethan just sent him sailing past with that pump fake. Braxton goes up, almost got it, but without quite as much of a full head of steam. He said, you know what, I'm just going to take the 2 points instead of trying to put some extra sauce on it with a dunk. This is going to be 77-53. Eagles out with the lead again, and after last night, they were on track for cracking the century mark in scoring for quite a while. Ultimately, the offense slowed down a little bit, and they ended on 85. But with over 11 minutes left in this one, already at 77 points, you wonder if this might be their game to do it and finish the season on this positive note. 77-53, 11-19. And earlier in the broadcast, we mentioned this game had gotten pushed up to allow the Eagles to hit the road. It's a correction on that. It's to allow the Arrows to hit the road and make it a little bit easier in terms of making their flight back to Portland. And so this is going to do it for the Eagles season. And they're certainly well on their way here. Out on the court right now, we've got Zach Brown and Ethan Delaney as the main front court players. Braxton Bosher and Lucas Hernandez bringing plenty of size, but a little bit more wing play. Really, Braxton even kind of a supersized point guard role for this team oftentimes. And Nathaniel King probably going to be picking up LaFamia or Bays in a point guard duel. Cremier inbounds it to Bays, and Bays clearly wanted to get it to LaFamia, but a bit of miscommunication on the Portland side. Ethan almost jumped that one. Eagles, one of their best aspects of the first half was the steals that they were able to snag. Ethan almost got that one there. Cremier able to save it off of Delaney and give it back to them. Samuel Reese came through just in time. Cremier with a little bit of hesitation that almost cost his team a 5-second violation. Braxton now working his way down the court against the shorter LaFamia. He'd been looking to drive earlier. Let's see if he does so again here. And he is going to lose the handle on that just a bit. And that's going to go back Portland's direction. 77-53. Eagles up 24 as we're getting close to the 10-minute mark left in this game. LaFamia making a series of premeditated pump fakes 40 feet from the basket. So a little bit better selling closer in. Bosher to Ethan, who again takes advantage of the defense's intensity, really trying to run their way back into the play. Stays patient, stays aware, able to get that one to go easily. Bays a little bit too deep, and now Lucas bringing this one up. He's had a quieter game so far, really more of the threat of his three-point shooting. Ethan splashes that one right in front of Coach Sisson. Really the threat of Lucas's shooting, giving his teammates more open opportunities. And I could be wrong in this. We'll have our stat guru, Brandon Miller, confirm this later. I think that might be Braxton Bosher's 10th assist of the game. And he's certainly done a great job in distributing the ball here. If not, he is pretty close to hitting double digits there. Probably the harder category to hit double digits in would be assists as opposed to rebounds. You got to have your teammates hitting those shots for you, but it's been a good shooting performance by the Eagles. And really just in the sense of finding good shots and converting them as opposed to one guy just catching fire from outside. More about control than insane shooting. Coming back for the Portland Bible College Arrows. It's 82-56 as we hit 9 minutes to go. 26-point margin. Bays to Lane to Cremier, swinging it around the outside. Lane is going to pull up from three. That's not a typical shot for him. And you can see why with that one. King outside, hits it for three, rattles it in with the rim, but is able to get that one to go as the margin almost is out at 30 right now. Another dish for Braxton. And we are working this one around the outside. Go away in the post on Reese. Looked like Reese was maybe going to get the turn around him. but David was able to stonewall him there, ends up out with Premier from the outside. King got that one, and right away looking to drive, taking advantage of the defense, and that one is going to get whistled on Ethan Delaney, his third of the day as well. And so a couple of Eagles sitting at 3. Chris Galindez was going to check in and actually still has. Is coming in for Nathaniel King. But then Gabe got subbed on for Lucas Hernandez. So a double change here by Coach Sisson. 85-60 is your score right now. 8:07 left in this one. And Lane is going to get the offensive board off of Reese's miss. Put that one in for 2. Ethan going inside. He's really liking the matchups he's been seeing here in the second half, especially going towards the hoop, although he also showed a willingness to pull up from outside. I don't have the specific number, but I wouldn't be shocked if Ethan is our leading scorer here in the second half. He certainly put on that kind of performance. And Bay's going to be able to work his way around Galindez. David Goe playing good team defense, getting in there to make it difficult for him. That's going to be Goe's third. And we're going to have a timeout get called here. I believe right now we've got 5 Eagles on 3 fouls. But it would be surprising if this 25-point margin with 7 minutes left is able to get caught up, especially as even when the Eagles have been getting called for fouls, on the whole, they're still playing with control, playing with good awareness. It does look like Zach Clay is going to come into the game for the first time. Looks right now like there's at least a chance that he's going to get the bulk of minutes from here till the end of the game. But Coach Sisson has stayed proactive throughout today's matchup and making what he feels like are the right changes at the right time. And so we'll see exactly how this one plays out. 7.5 minutes left. It's 87-62. Your West Coast Eagles out in the lead. And you call for him, and he answers. Brandon Miller coming through with our stats update. Braxton on 12 assists right now. Anecdotally, feels like one of the higher numbers that I can specifically remember in an Eagles game that I've called. Haven't called as many games in recent years, and so Joe, Stephen Wheeler, Seth Hanna, one of those guys, certainly might have gotten past that mark. But definitely a strong performance from him in terms of his overall distribution in this game. Clay is in right now. Braxton, David, Chris, and Gabe, the other players here. Clay showing some control. Now sets a pick. Weatherall comes under, giving Chris a matchup that he likes up top. Able to work quickly. But with a third defender coming over, a lot of arms there in Zach Clay's space as he was trying to handle that pocket pass and then go up with it. 7 minutes to go here in just a matter of seconds. 87-64. We've got Lane with the ball now here at the top. Weatherall a lot more hesitant to shoot than he was yesterday. Bayes really taking the role as the primary gunner from outside for Portland. Braxton to Chris. Chris thinks about it, but then goes around his guy. And that's going to rattle down and in. 89-67 being your score. Weatherall looking for the pass. Felt like Lane was going to try to spin around David, but some good defense there, working his way around. Looked like Clay was pretty static, but maybe they saw a bit of a reach or a bit of a shuffle that's going to end up being Clay's first foul, but that's even part of his role in this game right now, that you got to play actively, play aggressively in order to play good defense. You always have to balance that with control, but you have to have that edge as well. Sometimes that's just going to end up costing you in terms of whistles, but that's why you've got a bench, to be able to go to those guys in that situation. Clay gets rung up there. Ball's back to Bosher, who starts pushing it up, looking for an opening right away before it settles into a bit more of a half-court set. That's going to get just tipped away by Vermillion after some contact kept Braxton from fully getting up there. Goes to Bays. Delaney to Bosher. Bays feels like he's got to be Portland Bible's leading scorer in the second half, maybe on the game as a whole, after some good shooting. Chris is going to reset and splash that one for three. 92-71, 21-point margin. Under 6 to go here. And Galindez. Okay, and you could hear Galindez grabbing the ball with some quick hands there. Lafemia really likes performing a variety of fakes and jabs when he gets the ball. Chris was ready for him and timed it up well, with a whistle coming in shortly after. You were hoping that he didn't get rung up for that swipe, but instead it was going to be Lafemia who got the whistle after he fouled Chris to keep him from getting away. Braxton to Zach. Zach up. Vermillion with his second tip in as many minutes. Bays is, in fact, leading Portland Bible right now with 23 points. And certainly their only real threat from outside. Bit of a Tyler Adams lookalike, which is a USM&T fan I can always appreciate. I don't know if he's their captain as well, but certainly the strongest performer for them so far. Galindez coming down with the board here, looking to push it up right away, but now toggling down into some control. Vermillion with his third block here. Great pick and roll, essentially, by Clay, and was able to run his way all the way back into the play. Some contact, but nothing that looked like a foul. The refs agreed there. And Clay now getting stuffed again. And looks like maybe just calibrating it. Certainly Vermillion has got the length to make that tricky. Ethan Delaney absorbing his second charge of the day. And that's a tough way to get those whistles. And the ref telling Lafemia to keep his jersey on as he's going to the bench. Hickson is going to be subbing in for him, though, at this point. Bosher now swinging it to Chris, who's going to work his way in, pull up for a jumper. Weatherall comes down with it. With about 4 minutes to go, it's 92-71. This 20-ish point margin has really been about where it stayed for most of the game. Galindez almost got it to Gabe Delaney, but instead just enough on the defensive end to get away with it. Bays pulls up, not able to get that to go. Braxton now with it. Over to Gabe, who's going to travel his way into scoring position the refs are going to claim. 92-71 with 3:41 left. Eagles on track to hit 100 if they can get a little bit of shot making here over the last couple of minutes. Keith Preston getting ready to come into the game, and so Coach Sisson giving it more time to get Zach, Keith, some of those guys who are just getting their first experience this season with an eye towards future development. But giving his starters more run here in the early going of the second half. And we're going to see this sub for the first time here. Franco Murata then coming in for Zach Clay as well. And so Ethan and Zach coming off the court. Franco and Keith joining their teammates who are out there right now. Chris and Braxton, the only two starters on the floor, with Gabe Delaney out there as well. Certainly a consistent minutes getter, even though he wasn't part of that first lineup today. That's going to get clanked, comes right to Gabe, tosses it to Braxton to let him get to work. Preston now dribbling, setting over here for Galindez, backs up to give himself some runway and against Jeremy Lane, who keeps creeping out to get him. Murata, Chris works opposite of the pick. And a bit more chatter going on here. And that can happen anytime that you go to ISO someone up. It's a 1v1 battle. You're saying that you feel like you're better than that guy, that you can take that guy. 92-72. It's going to end with a discussion of sorts among the refs. You wonder what they're talking about exactly, maybe where they're going to get lunch after this one finishes up. But eventually, it comes back to Chris Galindez. And he's going to get that first one to drop, give himself an opportunity for a second. Galindez only gets the first. Now Lane working his way past some of the defense, getting a bit of semi-transition here, even off of a free throw. Hickson comes in, and they caught Keith Preston on a little bit of a shuffle, it seems like here. Hickson going up to the line for a chance to get this margin back under 20. Probably too little too late with only 2:56 left to play. But they're going to play this one out to the best of their ability. Hits the first. And splashes the second. 93-74. Braxton bringing it up the court, and it looks like Lane is going to really be the designated Arrows player, taking defense on the primary ball handler. Gabe Delaney now around to Murata, who tries to work around Vermillion. He's got the space to ISO up, though that one's not going to amount to anything in terms of points. Lane looks off Galindez. The defense doesn't rotate over quite as quickly as Coach Sisson probably hoping for. It's going to be 93-76. Braxton bringing it up, and again, Lane, the defender who steps out to account for him. Micah Bagwell heading over to the scorer's table, possibly for Braxton or Gabe. Preston keeps it working around over to Chris, who now pulls up, splashes the three, and is going to drain that, and a whistle is going to come into the play as well. And Galindez and Weatherall, two scoring guards, although the Eagles' effective team defense has really kept Weatherall from doing too much in the way of scoring tonight. But they've had a nice little showdown here. And there's going to be a lane violation here. Looks like Chris's night is going to be over, as is that of Gabe Delaney, taking off two guys who have put a lot of years into Eagles basketball, not just in terms of the games, but the practices, balancing everything that it means to be a student athlete, representing our college in so many ways, certainly on the court through the effort and the quality that they've played with, and Coach Sisson giving them a chance to be greeted and congratulated by their teammates as they headed off the court here. Nathaniel King, the lead ball handler on the court right now, the one starter on the court right now. Franco and Zach in the front court, Micah and Keith out there as well. 1:46 to go. It's 96-77 for the Eagles. And that one's going to rattle in to put the Arrows at 78. 100 seconds to go here. Not the only 100 related interest for the Eagles right now. If they can get 2 buckets in their last 2 or maybe 3 trips down the court, they're going to break 100 in terms of scoring today. Murata works his way in, kicks it to Brown. That one's not going to go. Ref not calling a foul there. And so Hickson, frustrated with Bays that he wasn't noticed when he was open earlier down low, and he clanks the 3 to show him. King shakes Weatherall. Yeah, Weatherall is going for the steal. Just guessed wrong. That's going to put Nathaniel at the line. And we've got a full timeout with 59.4 here to go by Portland Bible. And the Eagles will have Nathaniel King going to the line as soon as this timeout is over. Good vibes for the Eagles players. Anytime that you get a win like this, anytime you can stack multiple wins like this, it's always going to be an encouraging end to the season. And after some games where they've gone on the road against much larger teams, larger enrollment schools, just programs at a little bit different level than West Coast in terms of some of the athletic focus of those institutions, it feels great to be able to come back home, to be able to get a win like this, to be able to be on the other side of a scoreboard. But games aren't won by student enrollments, but by the guys on the floor. And the guys on the floor have really played well in both of these. Just a calm, controlled performance, both last night and today. Nothing really standing out in terms of tactical tweaks or strategic differences that Coach Sisson has done differently or that he had to switch up. Really, a lot of it just about executing at a high level, playing the game that they knew that they'd be able to play. They did so last night. They're doing so today. Nathaniel King hits that first one. And Zach Brown and Franco Murata both stepping out. Ref saying that they did so too close to it. Obviously, you can't pull away too close before the shot. And they felt like King was already at that point in his cadence that they wanted to stop it up and just make sure everyone was all on the same page. Weatherall bringing it up, maybe 2, maybe 3 more possessions in this one overall. 98-78 is your score right now. Lane working his way into the lane. Hickson working his way out of the lane entirely. Weatherall sizing up Preston, seeing if he can ISO him. And he's going to end up launching it against the defender. And does so again. It doesn't work out either time. Zach Brown is going to get it with 18 seconds left. Nathaniel King's going to dribble it up, and it looks like they're just going to take this one out. You'd love to get 100, but there's a sense of it where you can't just gun for that when the game is already over. And so this is going to drain out. It's going to be 98-78. Your West Coast Baptist College Eagles winning by 20 in their final game of the season. A comprehensive win against the Portland Bible College Arrows. Great execution in these two games, even without Job Seasting, who had been so central to so many things about this team until his injury the other night. But the guy's stepping up in his absence. There's certainly no replacing a player like Job. But you always want to see those next guys be able to step into their increased roles. No one has to be someone else, but they have to be the best version of themselves, and they certainly